Hello, good evening, and a pleasant good evening to the Jamaican High Commission's first in our series of consular information sessions. This evening, we will be looking at some of the things that the High Commission can and cannot do for you, as well as the processes involved in doing your physical or online passport applications. We thank you for being with us this afternoon, and we hope that you will find this session to be very informative and educational. And of course, there will be an opportunity for you to pose your questions in the live chat function, and there will be someone monitoring that, and we will be able to give you real-time answers to your questions. Forgive me, my name is Patrice Laird Grant. I am the Deputy High Commissioner, and I'm now going to be handing over to the head of our consular section, Mrs. Tracy Blackwood.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are having a good day so far. And it is our pleasure as the High Commission to share with you on this very important topic. There are so many things that have happened in the world, and the pandemic has affected us in so many ways. And so we want to make sure that we give you the information that you need to access the services here at the High Commission. And so I'm going to start with what the High Commission can do. And so as the High Commission, there's a limit to the services that we can offer. We accept passport and citizenship applications, and we review them, make sure that they are intact and compliant. We look at the original documents, and we send them on to the passport office in Jamaica. As you can imagine, that is a process in itself, because then we have to absolutely make sure everything is in order, put everything together and send it off to the passport office. They will receive, process, and then send back the passports or the citizenship certificates. We're going to mainly focus on passports in this particular session, and for the citizenship, we will focus on that in another session. We also issue emergency travel documents for urgent travel, mainly to and from Jamaica, or in some cases to a territory that will take our travel documents. But with respect to those emergency certificates, you have to make sure that you have your proof of residence to return to the United Kingdom. So those documents can take you to and from Jamaica back to the UK. We also notarize and authenticate legalized documents for use in Jamaica. And we do quite a bit of that here. We do TRN forms, we do letters for police certificates, but we don't actually take those applications ourselves. The individual has to send them on to Jamaica. We also do land papers, and everyone has to make sure that they have a valid passport or a full driver's license. We also deal with foreigners. For some of you who may not know, that might be a surprise, because Jamaica does have visa regulations for foreigners who travel to Jamaica. So there are some countries that don't need visas, and there are others that do. And those persons come to us for visas. What the High Commission cannot do, we cannot help you to get your leave to remain in the UK or endorse your new passport. And so many times, persons will ask us, are you going to put the stamp in our passport? And we have to say to them, no, we are not authorized to do that. You have to get that done through the Home Office. Another thing that we can't do, we can't give you legal advice, because there are no lawyers that work in this High Commission. And so even though we can probably give you a guide, we really cannot give you legal advice. We can't investigate crimes. We can't carry out searches for missing persons, although we can direct you to the relevant authorities here or in Jamaica. So in a nutshell, that is what the High Commission can and cannot do, in a nutshell. So as you are aware, due to the national lockdown, we were unable to see clients face to face. And so we reopened last month, and we operate an appointment-only system so that we can take our applications and see our clients in an orderly fashion. And post-coronavirus, we have to make sure that the coronavirus protocols are adhered to. In terms of appointments, we opened our appointments in April, and unfortunately, or I don't know how you would put it, we are booked until October 2021. And that might be a challenge for some persons, but there are ways and means around that. You can send in your applications by mail, or you can apply online. And so the Passport Office representative will speak about that process a little later on. In terms of some valuable tips when you are sending in your passport application, you need to make sure that it's certified by the appropriate officer and one of those photographs as well. And you send in your applications by recorded delivery. Now, always keep a photocopy of your passport and your birth certificate somewhere on your email or in a safe place. In the event that your passport is lost or stolen, you can have these details to refer to and to make it easier for yourself, and you can look at the particular numbers, especially for the birth certificate. And you should always have your birth certificate, an up-to-date birth certificate, and you can easily apply for that service through the Registrar General's Department in Jamaica. They take applications online as well. In terms of your passports, just general information as well, your passports can be renewed at any point during the 12 months of its expiry date. And so if your passport is expiring October 2021, you can renew it in November 2020 without paying the replacement fee. If you apply for it before that time, you'll pay a slightly higher fee. One important thing, the High Commission is no longer able to take cash or postal orders. So we can facilitate direct bank transfer. That has had quite an effect on our operations here, which means in some cases it will take a little longer as we have to verify that the payment has been received. And for some persons, another person may pay that money, and we would need to know who that person is so that we can link that name to the application on our system. So it's very important that you use the invoice reference number that you're given, and that will help us to identify it quickly. Always ensure that your passport is up to date. As a Jamaican in a foreign country, you always need to make sure that it is up to date, especially in these serious times. And even if you have a British passport, you need to make sure that your passport is up to date. In recent times, we should share with you that the British Passport Office operates a one-name policy. There's a lady who came in today for a service, and she had the Jamaican passport in one name and the British passport in another name. And so you have to synchronize your names across those important documents. The British Passport Office will ask you for the Jamaican passport information, and it has to be the same as how you apply for your British passport. Very, very important information, and we ask that you share this information with others in the community. In terms of mailed-in applications, as I was saying earlier, the applications for renewal can be sent by recorded mail, and it's important that this is done so you can keep a track of what you send in to us. And also we can look back to see if there is a query. We can look back to see the documents that we have received from yourself. And we do keep a record in-house. Two persons go through that and record what is taken in terms of original documents so that we can make sure that we keep your documents safe here. Always try to send a self-addressed stamped envelope for the return of any original documents. And what you will need to do is make sure that is recorded delivery, because we don't use that first class. We want to make sure that your document is safe, and if it is lost in the post, you can apply for funds from Royal Mail for it. Now, Section G, which is a certification section, must be certified if you're going to send it by mail. And you can get it certified by a general practitioner, a solicitor, or a consular officer or minister of religion who can perform marriages, notary public, justice of the peace, all of those. And the information is available on our website. We have a lot of information that is available on our website that persons can look at and need to look at in terms of what to do for the various areas. So that is very important for us. A lot of persons call us for basic information that is on the website. And unfortunately, we are not able to answer every query and respond to every call, because we do get quite a bit of calls and emails. In terms of replacement passport applicants, those persons need to come into the High Commission, and they have to be seen in person. We absolutely need an original birth certificate. And if your passport expired 20 years ago, you clearly need to have your birth certificate to apply, because then you would be going onto the new system at the passport office. And you know, it's a new machine readable passport that we have now, as the passport office officials will say. And you need to make sure that, we need to make sure that everything is up to date and that your name synchronized. A number of times we have had to say to persons, you have changed your name, you're using a different name. We definitely need to have a deed poll. And information is on our site as to the places that you can apply for deed poll. There are two places here that is acceptable to the Jamaican authorities. So please do not send your passport to a relative in Jamaica to be renewed, as that is quite illegal. You need to either send it to us or send it directly, but we recommend that you apply online on the passport office's website, and you'll get more information forthcoming on that. Some recurring problems that we have in terms of the form. We do have issues relating to signatures that do not match. So on the old passport form, which is the one that we use quite a bit, there is a signature box at the top of page 2 and a section at section E where you need to sign, and those signatures need to be similar. A lot of times persons tend to not realize that there's a signature box at the top, but it's something that you always need to look out for. For parents who are signing, they need to sign at 2 places on page 2 as well. A lot of times there may be incorrect names and it's not synchronized throughout, and those issues need to be straightened out before we can actually accept the documentation. In terms of authentication of documents or signing of documents, as I was saying previously, the High Commission facilitates land documents, driver's license forms, police certificate letters, TRN forms, and RGD docs where there's an issue with late entry or corrections. And a valid passport is required. Fee is £15 per signature, and we do that by bank transfer as well. One final thing before I close, it's with respect to the travel authorization and COVID PCR. So all travelers, foreigners and Jamaicans that are traveling to Jamaica now since last year have to have a travel authorization approval. And so what has been added recently is the requirement for a PCR test. So you need to apply online through visitjamaica.com or the Jam COVID site. And you have to make sure that you have these documents before you travel. The approved travel authorization, as well as a negative COVID PCR test. So, this is information that, you can share with the community. You absolutely need to do those, have those before you apply, before you go to travel to Jamaica. And you need to have that at least 7 days before you travel. So this is it in a nutshell. Thank you so much. And we will go into our question and answer session in just a moment. Mrs. Gillespie, could you just join me?
First question is coming from, how do I pay for my application?
So when you actually get to the High Commission and your application is in order, you will be issued with an invoice reference number. And even if you send it in by mail, once the application comes in, we will issue an invoice reference number and we will send the information on to you and you make the payment.
And why does it take 8 weeks for the passport to be processed? And can I pay extra for an express service?
We don't offer express service from here because in cases where it gets to Jamaica and something is wrong, the passport office has to do an investigation. So for express service, we don't advise giving that service from here. So no.
It is really recommended that you try to keep your passport up to date at all times. And although we know persons will fall into particular situations, it's something that we really need to be on top of when it comes to our Jamaican passport. I've seen where persons have been, their passports are outdated from 2009, 2011, and they come expecting us to rush with their applications. And sometimes it's not as easy. It takes a little while because then we have to send everything in bulk, at least once a week to Jamaica. Then it takes time for them on that side in terms of administratively to make sure that things are in order, and then they open a batch and process it. So it's different from when you actually go to passport office in Jamaica and you walk in and you present your application. Remember that you're overseas, so it's going to take a little longer, and it is taking a little longer now because we're in the midst of backlog. So we say, give us 8 weeks. In some cases, it comes back in less time. Yeah. But right now, we are in the midst of a lot of persons sending applications. It takes time to sort through, make sure that the application is compliant and can be sent to Jamaica. We have to confirm the payment. Our account section has to confirm that payment before it is sent off. And so what we have been encouraging persons to do is send the payment information to us so that we can confirm.
Also, for that, it takes longer because when we get the applications in-house, 9 out of 10 times they're not compliant, meaning they're not signed in the relevant places. Section G is not completed properly, and sometimes birth certificates are not sent. Passports that expired in 1999, as Mrs. Blackwood said previously, we need a birth certificate. Sometimes they send the little birth registration form, which is a little pink slip you get, and that is not a birth certificate. So with applications like those, we have to return or ask for additional documents, so those will take longer. So sometimes that's why it takes more than 8 weeks to complete an application.
Yes, and there are times when we ask persons to complete something and they still send back the section to us and it is not done properly. They don't understand what it is that should be done, even though it's clearly highlighted and marked. And so we have our own internal challenges where that is concerned. And of course, I should mention that in terms of photographs, we have a lot of challenges with the photographs. Sometimes they have too much light on them, they're too dark, there are shadows, too much hair on the forehead. We need to see the outline of that face properly. And then another sore point is marriage details. So a lot of times if persons don't declare their marriage, that holds up an application when it reaches Jamaica. Because then before they were known as married and now they're ticking that they're single and when they're actually divorced. So that in itself creates a lot of problems for us. And if they are not careful, they can be charged for false declaration. So that's something that persons really need to be aware of. You just stick to the truth, complete the form in full, and it will be much easier for everyone.
And once you have been married, ladies, gentlemen, you can never be single again. You have to tick that you're either divorced. If you're separated, you're still married. So we can't have you been single when you have been married, because we get a lot of that. Okay?
Okay, and there is a question about the appointment system. The person thinks it's appalling and wants to know and also an issue that the telephone, it's difficult to get through to us on the telephone. And are we taking any steps to improve the service and to open up for more appointments?
So that's a question that I probably won't be able to answer, but we are working within the confines of what we have. We are actually fully occupied, every one of us, even persons outside of the consular section, are involved in trying to deal with persons. And it takes time to deal with everyone. And it doesn't take 5 minutes. It takes quite a bit of time for each person. So in terms of staffing capacity, perhaps that's an issue that the government will look at in due course. And we are also looking at things internally because we know that it is a challenge for our Jamaicans. But we are saying within the confines of what we have to do, persons should try to send in their applications by mail and make sure that they apply early enough so that we can process their applications and use the passport online system where they can, because that's a very, very important development. And I really applaud the passport office for that. And they will come on and speak about that later on.
Okay. And what do you advise someone whose original birth certificate has been damaged, lost, or stolen?
For someone whose birth certificate has been damaged, lost, or stolen, they should apply to the Registrar General's Department in Jamaica for a new one. And you need to use the number at the top left-hand corner of the page, the number with some letters, to apply for a new birth certificate. And you can get that easily online through the RGD. They have been providing good service and they're always prompt when it comes to certain things. So please use that. If you know that you have a difficulty, apply in good time before it reaches that critical stage. Thank you.
And someone wanted to advise from the High Commission. The mother is in Jamaica and they need to send her prescription medication. Can we advise on that?
I think they have to get in touch with the Ministry of Health.
We have guidance on our website.
We have, the guidance is on the website because it's a medical thing and they have to have clearance from Jamaica on what drugs they can take in. So they'd have to get in touch with Ministry of Health for that.
Yes, there's a permit that has to be issued
Yeah.
depending on the medication. And so that information is on our website as to how you can apply for that and dispatch the drugs.
Will the slides be available from this?
Will the what?
The slides that we're using be available? Will the presentation be available to persons?
Okay, I guess it will be. We can make them available. Any other question?
Can I apply online and collect the passport in Jamaica?
I don't think the system is set up for you to collect the passport in Jamaica. If you're applying from overseas, you have to have it returned to you here in the UK if you're applying online. And the passport office can speak to that later on. But if you apply online, you absolutely need to make sure that it's sent back to you and it's not a local address. You have to pay an overseas fee and not the local fee. So that's just how the Jamaican regulations are set up. We don't want your passport being provided to somebody else, but the passport office can speak to that a little later on. So if there are no other questions.
One other question. Can I renew my Jamaican passport in Jamaica as I'm going there at the end of the month?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can apply in Jamaica to renew your passport, and they have more than one service, next day service, 3-day service, and a normal 7-day service. So you can absolutely do that. Make sure that you have your birth certificate
And marriage.
and a marriage certificate, deed poll if necessary. All your documents, you should make sure that you have.
And the passport office, PICA, has outlets in most parishes in Jamaica now. So I think wherever they're going, I would think there's an outlet there. But as Mrs. Blackwood said, PICA will be able to tell them where they are located.
Are you still processing new applications for citizenship?
We have appointments for citizenship applicants throughout the period. So we are processing applications for citizenship. And I should have introduced Mrs. Gillespie properly, but this is Mrs. Gillespie Thorpe. I've been introduced as head of the section, and she is somebody who is very experienced and who has been given such solid support over the years. Thank you. Somebody who's very experienced and who has been given such solid support over the years. Thank you.
I know.
So if there's no other questions, I will invite Deputy to. Oh, there is another question.
Will the online system adapt to allow first-time or overseas applications? They could then undertake interviews via Zoom.
I think PICA was going to talk
So
about
we'll have to
online.
let PICA answer that question. That's not for us to answer at the moment. So without any further ado, I will hand back to the Deputy High Commissioner, Mrs. Patrice Laird-Grant, and she will introduce the officials from the Passport Office. Thank you so much for listening, and all the very best.
Thank you, Mrs. Blackwood and Mrs. Gillespie, and thank you for continuing to be with us this evening. As we move forward in the program, we are now going to be inviting to join us Mr. Andrew Winter, who is the Chief Executive Officer of PICA, and immediately after he comes and gives us his brief remarks, we will have Ms. Stephanie Gordon. Now, by way of an introduction, Mr. Andrew Winter has over 30 years' experience in the fields of security and risk management. He has a master's in security management from the University of Leicester and is a certified security professional, having obtained his certified protection professional as well as a physical security professional credentials from ACES International. Mr. Winter is also qualified as a Port Facility Security Officer in Jamaica. Mr. Winter has a wealth of experience in managing security operations, risk management, ethics and compliance, auditing, and strategic management, which are critical skills that are required by senior leaders in today's challenging environment. In addition to the foregoing, Mr. Winter has participated in numerous security conferences, both locally and internationally, where he has been presenter and guest speaker on a wide variety of security topics. Some of the conferences which he has made presentations are the Jamaica Employers Federation Annual Conference, Corporate Executive Conference in Scotland, the annual conference of the Regional Central Bank Securities Chiefs, and the Ministry of Finance and Planning Risk Management Workshop, recently held at the Caribbean Security Conference in Moneague, where he made a presentation on public-private partnership. Other topics that he has presented on are supply chain security, workplace violence, conducting internal investigation, and ethics. Mr. Winter has also conducted training for organizations such as the Child Development Agency, Alcoa Bauxite Company, as well as the Bureau of Standards and the Jamaica Exporters Association. He is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA. Prior to joining PICA, he held a number of senior management positions. He has also served as an officer in the Jamaican National Reserve and more recently has been commissioned as an officer of the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force. His hobbies are reading, watching movies, and track and field. Mr. Winter, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner. It is my pleasure to be here today to share with you what we are going to be doing by the agency for our Jamaicans who reside in England. And I'd really like to express my gratitude to the Jamaica High Commission, who has been working with the agency over all these years to assist the Jamaicans there to ensure that they get the various products and services that the agency has to offer. It was our plan last year to actually come to the UK and to do our what we call an outreach program, because we have done it over the years from time to time. But unfortunately, COVID stepped in and we weren't able to make it. However, it is certainly back on the agenda for us. And as soon as we receive the appropriate clearances, then we look forward to coming to the UK and to assist the Jamaicans there to get the various products and services that we have to offer. I know that sometimes because of distance, it is a challenge. And when you have that Jamaican passport, it is that little piece of Jamaica that you hold in your hand. And you hold it dearly and you guard it jealously. And we appreciate that. And we want to ensure that the service and the quality of service that we offer you from the agency is of the highest quality and creates a good experience for you. Over the last 5 years, the agency has really started to step up in a number of ways to ensure that we get our products and services to you in the Jamaican diaspora in an easy and seamless manner. One of our first initiatives was the online passport renewal, and that is now working efficiently. And we look forward now to expanding more of our services. We're currently working on a project to automate the application for citizenship applications, and that too will be an online facility. We are currently working on that. So very soon, that is a facility that you will be afforded to you there in the UK as well. Joining me is the Director of Customer Service and Ms. Stephanie Gordon, the Director of Passport. And they will also share with you some of the new and exciting things that the agency is doing to ensure that your experience, because one of the things we do want to create from the agency perspective is a high quality experience for you, the Jamaican citizen, and especially you, the Jamaicans who live outside of Jamaica and in the diaspora. We have a contact center. We're on all the social media pages. So in terms of communicating with us and reaching to us, there are a variety of ways in which you can get in touch with us, and we try our best to respond. One of the things we do recognize that some of the challenges, we do recognize some of the issues that you may have, and we will try our best to work with you to resolve those issues in the shortest possible time. I know one of the things which is not often spoken about, but it is something that we need to ensure that we also bring to your attention. There are times when you're making your applications and it has to go for investigations because information may turn up. And we have to do investigation, then sometimes that does delay the process. What we will try to do as soon as we start the investigation is to complete them as quickly as possible, and certainly to keep in touch with you so that you don't see the thing that's hanging out there and you're wondering what is happening with your application. So we recognize the importance of communicating with you and ensuring that as part of the experience, you actually understand what is happening. Many of you have relatives in Jamaica, and I can share with you that Jamaica has, especially in particular, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency has come a long way. We have really moved significantly in a very different direction, and we're continuing to evolve. And we look forward to your support and to your continued interest in what we are doing. Because at the end of the day, you're the reason why we exist. And it's our job and our interest to make sure that you get the best service possible. I mean, even as the head of the agency, I do get some of the emails, I do get the phone calls from persons in the UK and other areas in the diaspora about issues and concerns. And we will try to address them as best as possible. Right? So, without further ado, I now hand over to the capable persons, Ms. Stephanie Gordon and Ms. Deli Vassell, who will also share with you even more some of the things that we are doing and addressing the concerns that you may have. I'm also available if you ever need to be in touch with me. And certainly, as I said, one of the things we are looking forward to is coming to the UK to provide even a greater level of assistance and help you obtain the products and services that the agency is now offering. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Now we will turn to the presentation, which will be done by Ms. Stephanie Gordon, where she will be looking at the online passport application. Now, Ms. Gordon has been with the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency for some 19 years. She has headed the customer service unit and is currently the director of passport services. During her tenure, she has gained a wealth of experience and was a part of a project team which implemented the online platform. She holds a Master of Science degree in Human Resource Development, and she believes in maintaining and expanding sustainable linkages between the agency and the diaspora. So I now turn you over into the capable hands of Ms. Stephanie Gordon.
Thank you, Deputy High Commissioner. And I just want to say a big thank you as well to the High Commission for undertaking this event. I'm very happy to share in this afternoon's meeting and to, explain a little bit more about our current online application portal. So before I get into it, I want to also thank Mr. Winter for sharing some of the exciting things that PICA has been doing and will continue to do to serve you, our citizens in the diaspora. So I'm going to be sharing my presentation on the online application portal, and it will give you a basic guideline as to how to maneuver the system It is pretty easy, and we have been getting a lot of good feedback. Yes, there are some issues which I will talk about as we go along and how you can, get around those. But we're looking forward to more and more Jamaicans using this platform because it is a new development from PICO. It is an efficient tool. It will get your passport to you quickly and efficiently directly, so that the High Commission can then focus on other areas, if you can take that off them. So I'm about to share my screen and hope that the information will be beneficial to you, and you can also share with your family and friends who have not been able to join us on this event. All right, I'm trying to just share my presentation. Just a moment, please. All right, so I'm introducing to you our online application portal, and this is specifically geared to Jamaicans who have held a current Jamaican passport that has been issued since September 2001. So that means that you have a machine readable passport. Once you're no longer holding the old hardcover blue passport, or even the larger blue passport which was handwritten, once you're not holding one of those passports, then you are eligible to use the online application portal. Now, it is specifically geared towards adults. So persons who have children who have held passports and wish to change those passports are not eligible to use this platform. So it is just for adult renewals only. I'm just going to walk you through the system to give you an idea of how easy it is. Now, you would go to our website, which is www.pica.gov.jm. So that's www.pica.gov.jm. Once you're on our website, you will see the sections for passport, immigration, and citizenship. And under passport, you will see the banner which directs you to our online application portal. And once you click on that banner, it brings you to this page. And this page will guide you to start a new application, resume an application, or to check the status. Now, what are the benefits of the adult online passport renewal system? It allows you to submit your application for renewal from anywhere in the world. So you're not limited to whether or not you're close to an honor consul or you're in the jurisdiction where a consulate exists. You are now able to do your own application from the comfort of your home or your office and have it delivered to you anywhere you are in the world. The application process does not require certification, so you no longer have to find a notary public, a justice of the peace, a minister of religion to certify your form or pictures. You will now be uploading your document, your information, and your photograph directly to our system. The turnaround time is within 20 working days. So once you submit that application and it is compliant, your passport will be delivered to you within 20 working days. So you save on the application process, you actually can go on, start the process, save the information, and then resume at a more convenient time. So say you're in the application and supposing you're at work and you have to stop, it allows you to resume later on. Right. On the first screen, you are going to see a fee calculator. So before starting the process, you'd be able to calculate the fees, which would include the delivery fees and the passport fee. So you have an idea of how much it is going to cost you and what will be charged to your credit card before you start the application process. All right. So once you go into the fee calculator screen, you select your service and you would be selecting delivery. Now, I recall someone asked earlier if you can pick up, if it is that you are overseas, or preference is that you have it delivered directly to you. However, if you will be traveling to Jamaica before the time frame, the 20 working days, yes, you can be allowed to make your pickup. So you indicate that you'll be picking up in Jamaica. However, if you're not going to be traveling to Jamaica during the time, you choose delivery and have it delivered to you, because we would not be able to then facilitate, after you have selected pickup, we would not be able to then facilitate a delivery. Right? It creates another issue for you now to pay, because you have already gone through the process. You will then select the delivery country. You will notice, I know some persons may have gone on and they indicated England. We are asking that you select the United Kingdom instead to get the correct delivery information in. So always select the UK as the delivery option, the delivery country. And you will select regular delivery for the service option. As Mrs. Gillespie Thorpe had said earlier, that we do not offer an express service for overseas customers at this time. So your service option would be regular. The next thing that you can do, and it is something that not only online applicants can use, you can go on, even if you're going into the mission to have your application done, you can use the photo checker tool, which is under the online portal, to check your photograph to see if it is compliant before you start your application process. So you will see to the left, bottom left, that it says photo checker. So you can go into this screen and check your photo for compliance. So once you're in this section, you will read the conditions, the terms and conditions, and then you will tick the box to indicate that you agree with the terms and condition, and it allows you to save and continue. You will get another pop-up that checks if you are a robot, and you of course will tick that you are not, to move on to the next screen. Once you tick that you're not a robot, it will sometimes give you an image to select, to just verify before you move on. Once you have selected the correct images from the screen, you click verify, and then you will be allowed to move on to the next screen. Now, once you have been validated, you will see that the save and continue button will be highlighted, which allows you to then move on. So the next thing you'll be doing is uploading your photograph. So once you have passed the validating fields, you will be allowed to upload your photograph to the page. Now, please note that your photograph must be in one of these formats. And the first thing is to make sure that your photograph is taken by a professional photographer who will make sure that the photograph is in the correct format, whether it's JPEG, PNG, or BMP. If your photograph is taken and it is in PDF form, it will not be accepted for the passport purposes. So ensure that you read all the requirements which are on this page, so that you know what are the requirements for the photograph, and it gives you an example of what a good photograph looks like. Then you will be allowed to upload your photo. right? You will then be allowed to upload your photo, and it will indicate to you whether or not the photograph is good. So once you have uploaded your photo in the checker, you will get an outline indicating that it is good. So it will highlight, you'll have a green border around the box, which will say the photo is good, right? So we also give you an example to see how a good photograph should look. And so you see this green border going across the eyes, which gives you an indication of where you should be situated on the photograph. So if your eyes are below or above, you know that the photograph is not acceptable. Once your photograph is if it is not acceptable, you will see a red outline of the box. So instead of a green border, you will see a red border indicating that the photo is not okay. And you would need to change and upload another photograph. So now that you have checked your photograph and it is okay, and you have calculated your fees and you have an idea what it's going to cost you, you can now start your new application. So you would click on Start New Application and proceed to the next screen. So you're now ready to renew your passport. Now, in order to ensure that you are eligible to use the online portal, there are a number of eligibility questions that you'll be required to answer. So you'll be answering questions 1 through to 9, and you would indicate what is applicable to you. For example, is your current passport expired or will expire within a year or less? So if your passport does not expire within a year, then you would not be eligible to use the platform, right? So you would tick the relevant answer, whether it's yes or no, for questions 1 through to 9. Once you have answered all of these questions, you then select check eligibility, and that will tell you whether or not you're able to proceed from there. So the next step, once you have checked eligibility and then you are eligible to go through, it will allow you to then proceed with the application. So you are now in the first step of submitting your application. You will be required to complete all the boxes. You indicate your given names, which is your first name and middle name or names if you have more than one. And we ask that you fill out the boxes in the same way your name appears in your current passport. So the passport you're going to renew, you need to have on hand because you're going to be indicating your information as it appears in that passport. So don't be changing your names around. If it is that you have done a name change since your last passport, then you will not be eligible to use this platform. To the right of each box, you will see a question mark. Now this question mark, if you click on the question mark, it allows you to get an example of what you need to answer in the boxes beside it. So it will give you the format for your names and so on. So you indicate your surname, your first and middle name, your surname. Then you move on to your date of birth and you see the format in which you will place the information. So it's a day, the month, and then the year, and you put a hyphen between. Now the certificate number is speaking to whether it's your birth certificate, an adoption certificate, or certificate of citizenship. Again, you can click on that question mark to the right of the box. That question mark will give you an example of the document that you need to look at to get that information for the certificate number. When you click on this box, it will indicate whether you have examples of your birth certificate or citizenship certificate highlighting the number, so you will know where to get that number from. You will then input your passport number, and you will be required to input the numbers in the box, right? So now, once you have filled out all of these boxes, you are then going to proceed. So you click on Start Application. Now, the next screen requires an email verification. Now, similar to most web platforms where you make a purchase online, you would be given a verification code. So you're required to input a valid email address because this is the email we will be using to communicate with you. So please ensure that when you're putting in your email address, that you confirm that it is valid. And once you click on verify email, we will send you a verification code to that email address. Now you will check your email. You'll see check code. Once you have been verified, you will see the box highlighted to check code. So you now go to your email to wait for the email from PICA to come in. Once you get that email from PICA, you put the code number, the number that you get, in this box above check code, right? Sometimes persons say, but I didn't get the email. What you ought to do is to check your spam, your junk mail, to see if that email went to your junk mail instead of going to your inbox. So there are some instances where the email goes to your junk mail. So you check that before. And if you have any difficulty, you can then consult PICA. And I'll provide our contact information later down in the presentation. So once you have gotten your verification code and you input it here, and then you click on press code, it will allow you to proceed. All right, so we're at the next field, which is contact information and profession. So this is general information about the applicant now. So we ask that you put in your profession, and there is a drop-down menu from which you can select your profession. If the exact profession that you wish to have is not there, you can select one that is close to it, right? Because we have quite a number of professions in the drop-down menu. We ask that you give us your phone number and or business number if one is available, all right? We then ask you to complete your permanent address, and this is your address where you are living overseas. Please do not give us a Jamaican address if you're not currently residing in Jamaica, right? We also ask, as I had earlier indicated, that you do not select England as your country of residence. Select instead the United Kingdom, right? If you have a mailing address which is different from your permanent home address, you can also provide that address. So if it is that you wish to have the passport delivered to your work address, you can indicate here what is your mailing address. All right. So this moves you to the next screen, which is to provide us with emergency contact information. So there are some instances where an applicant submits an application to us and there is something wrong with the application and we are trying to get in touch with them and we are unable to do so. We ask that you provide emergency contacts. In case we're not able to reach you, we can get in touch with your contact person. So we ask that you provide 2 emergency contact persons, and these are persons who we must be able to reach. So don't give us somebody who, you know, if we try to reach them by telephone or even email, they're not going to respond. So just like when you're doing other transactions and they ask you for a contact person, please ensure that these persons are aware that they are contacts. And if we reach out to them, they don't then say, but I don't know this person, you know. So make sure you're giving us the correct email, the correct address, and the correct telephone number for these persons, so we can reach out to them in case we're not able to get to you. We also ask that this person is living in the same country, so that if we reach out to them and then we say, you know, you can get in touch with the individual who is the applicant and they can reach out to you easily. All right, so the next screen is the fee calculator. So if you had not done that before, you still have another opportunity to calculate the fee at this stage in the application process. And once you have selected your regular delivery and the service option, then you are able to save and move on. So we provide this opportunity to get your passport delivered directly to you, so you don't have the inconvenience of having to go to the mission to pick up your passport. So it's coming straight to your home or workplace. As was indicated earlier, the delivery time is 20 working days, right? We select the delivery address based on what you have put in your previous screen. So please, again, make sure before you complete the application process that you ensure that the address that you're giving us is correct, right? And valid. So after the information is validated, you are now able to save and continue to the next screen. So you will, once you have put in your information, you will now see the fee coming up, and it is $80 and the delivery fee is $64. So in total, you'll be paying $144 for your passport, right? So once you have agreed to this fee, you're able to then proceed, save, and continue. The next step will be to upload your photograph, right? So again, here you will read the terms and conditions, tick the box to indicate that you agree to those terms and conditions, and then you may save and proceed to the next screen. So we're going through the photo process again. So again, there are some guidelines here providing the requirements for the photograph. Once you have uploaded, once the photograph is good, you'll see a green border outlining that it is good, and then you're able to proceed to save and continue. Now, if it is that the photograph is not good, this is what is gonna happen. You're gonna see a red outline of the box, the photo box. So you will know definitely that it is not good. And it says below here that the uploaded photo has errors, right? And then it will allow you to change your photograph. So you can click on the box that says change photo, and you're able to upload another photograph. So once your photograph has gone through, you get a summary page, right? So at this point, you'll be asked to validate and verify all the information that you have inputted. And we're asking that you review each of the fields to make sure the information is accurate, right? We don't want to have a wrong address inputted and that we end up delivering to the wrong address. So we ask that you put the correct address, make sure your names are spelled correctly. Everything there should be correct because we're validating before you are moving on to the next step. So you get this opportunity to make any corrections at this point. So at the bottom of the summary page, you will see your photograph. If you're not liking the photo, you have an opportunity again to go back and change. So once you have reviewed all the information to be accurate, you may check the box to confirm the accuracy and completeness of the application, then select save and continue. If the information is incorrect, you can go back to the previous pages and amend what is incorrect, and then you can move on. All right, so finally, to complete the application, you are required to now pay the applicable fee. But before moving to pay the fee, there is a refund policy that we have placed there. So you can open that and read the refund policy to educate yourself, inform yourself about our procedures with relation to how a refund can be afforded. Then once you're fine with that policy, you can tick the relevant box to say I've read and agreed to the policy, and then you proceed to payment, all right? Now, this is the next step. Before you conclude, we state that by completing payment, your current passport will be deactivated and will no longer be valid for travel. If you select the cancel button, you may click log out and email to print your application. So if it is that you do not wish to proceed further, you can now exit the application. It allows you to email the form that you've completed to yourself, and then you can print it, and at your convenience, you can either take it in to one of our offices locally or to a Jamaican mission overseas to complete the process. If you wish to proceed and you're going to now make the payment, you click the yes button to proceed, right? So once you have clicked yes, you then move to the payment stage. Now, at this stage, you will complete it by putting in your credit card number, expiry date, and the security number at the back of your credit card. So all the information is there to indicate where to get the numbers from. Once you've inputted that information, as well as your name or whoever, the name of the holder of the credit card, as well as the billing address, you will then click the button below to say that you have confirmed the payment. And then once your payment is successful, you will get a notification from us by email. So if your transaction is successful, if it is unsuccessful, sorry, you have the option of trying again. So you give it some time, and then, or you may also log out and have the form emailed to you, or you can wait for a few minutes and try again, right? So you will get a reason code, everything will be here. You can try again. If your transaction has been successful, the payment has gone through, you will see this screen pop up to say payment complete. Your payment has been successfully processed. Your receipt will be emailed to you, as well as a copy of the application. So you still get a copy of your application in your email, as well as a receipt indicating that your payment was successful. So at this point, you have gone through the entire step, all the steps of doing the online application process for adult passport renewals. So at this point, you will get your receipt, your application, and your passport will be delivered to you within 20 working days. So I have gone through all the processes, all the steps of using the online portal. Once you're doing it yourself, you will see that it is quite easy and it flows very easily. So I have come to the end of the presentation. So I think we now move to the question and answer section. So I just want to thank you for being attentive. I hope the information is beneficial and that it is something that you can share with others about how easy it is to use the PICA online application portal for adult passport renewals. Thank you very much. And now hand over to Deputy High Commissioner.
Thank you. We now have our question and answer segment, and we will have the able assistance of our colleague, Ms. Anne-Marie Hinkney, who will be fielding the questions as they appear in the live chat for your response.
Having submitted the application online and we require a new photograph, why do we have to pay for courier fees of £60 again?
Okay, so this is one of the reasons we ask that persons check their photographs and ensure that they're of the best quality, because of course, no system is foolproof, especially when it comes on to photographs. You may have to submit a new photograph after you have uploaded one. So once you've gone through the steps on the system, it does not allow you to go back in because your application is now complete. So it doesn't allow you to go back into the system to upload a new photograph. And so you will now have to send us a physical photograph along with a copy of your signature so that we can proceed, because what you have done once you've gone on the online portal, you have already started a process, and we now have to use a paper application to complete the process because that photograph you submitted was not acceptable. So we do facilitate persons to send us a digital photograph, and we can print it here, but you will still need to send us a signature because this is how the system works. It's a passport application, and you have gone online and done everything already. We're using the signature from the previous application. However, if those are non-compliant, the photographs you submitted are non-compliant, it now requires you to send that in to us, a new one. So because you cannot physically go back into the system and do another photograph, we then have to ask you to submit a new one. So we ask as best as possible that if you follow the guidelines as to what is required for a photograph, then we'll prevent having to send another one.
The next question, I can loop that into one because it's from the same person, 3 questions. She has been trying to use the online system since February, and she got a response to say that she qualified. And when she emailed, when she tried to apply online, it's saying that she didn't qualify. She thinks that there is a glitch, and if you know about it.
All right. So we are accepting applications every day, and we're not aware that there is a problem. I'm not so clear. She went on and was initially qualified, and then later on was not qualified.
Initially, it said she didn't qualify. She then emailed PICO, and the response eventually came to say that yes, she qualified. But then when she tried to apply online, she couldn't do so.
She couldn't do so. Yeah. All right. It is possible that one of the eligibility questions was not answered correctly. And what I would suggest, we have a contact center which provides some guidance to persons who are applying online. So we can provide that information. They can contact us via our contact center via email or telephone, and we can try and walk them through the process.
And the next one is, why do you require a marriage certificate for someone who divorced their spouse prior to the child's birth? The child was born in the UK, however, would like to also have dual citizenship.
This is sounding like an application for citizenship?
Yes.
Right. So I'm assuming that that applicant submitted a birth certificate and the name that the person is using was changed by marriage. So they would be required to show that change, what document they used to acquire the surname change. So that would answer why a marriage certificate would be required.
And finally, the parent only has a birth certificate, not a passport. Can they still apply for citizenship and passport?
The person only has a birth certificate and they're applying for citizenship for themselves.
Yes, it seems so.
So they have a birth certificate from the country where they were born.
They have a birth certificate for their parent and for themselves, but they're asking if they need a passport for the parent as well.
Oh no, they're not required to submit a passport for the parent. They're required to submit an ID for themselves. So if it is that it's a minor, the adult will provide an identification. If it is an adult applying for citizenship for themselves, then yes, they would be required to provide an ID for themselves, but not for the parent who they're applying through. They would not be, say I am applying for citizenship by descent via my mother. I would not be required to present my mother's ID. I would only be asked to provide my mother's birth certificate. However, if it is that I am applying for my child, that child is a minor child, yes, I would be required to submit my identification because I am now doing the application.
And another final question, why is the online system not able to take minor passport applications?
All right, so our intention at the beginning of launching this portal was to start with our adult applicants. Of course, we know that adults, once you get to a certain age, there is not so much change happening, you're not growing. Minors are constantly changing, they're growing. And if you realize their passports are changed every 5 years. So we started the online portal for adults because there is no need for us to take measurements again and so on. We're not verifying this person the changes that are taking place, the features are changing. So it was a lot easier for us to start with the adult application portal. Now, as was shared by my CEO earlier, we're constantly looking at ways in which we can become more efficient and more customer focused, or organization is constantly looking for ways to expand and improve. And so we will be looking later on at how we can possibly facilitate minors. But at this time, we have just launched a system a little over a year ago, and we're still working through all of the kinks. So we have started with adults. It is much easier to start with adults who, are not changing anything, really.
And the person who asked the 3 questions about their passport having qualified online, Pika email to say qualified. They're asking for your email because she's certain she answered all the questions correctly, but she wasn't able to do so. So she's asking for your email address.
Absolutely. It's stephanie.gordon@pika.gov.jm, and the Stephanie is spelled with a PH, stephanie.gordon@pika.gov.jm. I'll also provide our contact center details. Our customer contact center has been guiding persons through, so you can also get in touch with our contact center. And Mrs. Vassell, Director of Customer Service, Deli Vassell, is also online. And so you can reach out to any of us to provide some guidance on the system.
My colleague has just reminded me of a frequent question we get on the switchboard, and that's from persons who are applying online. When the payment, everything goes through to the point of payment, but because the payment is in US dollars, on their end, the bank is not taking it, and the bank is saying that it's on your end, and the payment is not going through because it's in US dollars.
Oh, wow. This is the first time I'm hearing that challenge. It could possibly be something that we need to check out with our finance persons. But the fees are quoted in US and not in pounds. I'm not sure if it is that their credit card does not allow them to pay in US dollars on any platform. Is it that it is our platform that they've had this issue with, or it's generally?
Yes, we tend to get quite a lot of questions about that. They can't pay with their card. It's not going through, even though they have funds on their accounts.
So the question I'm asking is if it is a Pika issue, or is it that they're unable to pay in the US?
The bank has advised, and it's not just one bank, it's several banks, and they have advised it's a Pika issue, so it's not from their end.
All right, well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. This is the first time I'm hearing that persons in the UK are having that problem, because we do get a number of applications coming out of the UK, and we've processed their applications have been successful. So that's something I suppose we can see if we can get some clarity on. I will take note of that.
And the final, well, there's another question coming in. And I keep saying final, they tell me. There's another question coming in, and that's to say this person has been applying since last year, and it keeps saying ineligible, even though they are. What would cause it? But
as I said, most times there is an error in answering one of the eligibility questions. Sometimes they're not inputting the correct birth certificate number. They're leaving out something in the birth entry code, or they may have not answered one of the questions correctly. So remember, when I was showing that screen, there are some question signs at the end of each box, which gives you an example of what you really should be inputting in the boxes. So that provides some guidance. Failing that, as I said, feel free to reach out to our contact center, and we will provide further guidance.
That's it on my question sheet. I have nothing more. Our Community Relations Officer, Vivian, will take over.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Gordon, there's a couple of questions with regards to the section where you
find out whether or not you're eligible or not to do the online application. And a lot of people seem to stumble on question 6, the one about the passport photographs. Is there any way to make it clearer that they're dealing with the photos for the new passport and not the photo that is in the expired passport? Because we get a lot of persons calling, and when we say double check question 6, it's about your new photograph, it tends to be smooth sailing. After that.
Absolutely. Yes, we recognized that was a question that persons were stumbling with, and we have amended the actual statement there and thought that it was much clearer, because it says if the current photograph has been taken in less than 6 months, I think.
Yes.
So it should be much clearer than how it was stated before. So I'm not sure if it is still creating a stumbling block for persons, but you can let us know. We can again look at it and see if we can reword, but we had changed it.
Yes, I noticed that it had been changed, but it still seemed to be a stumbling block for some persons. So maybe I don't know, maybe to say the photo for your new passport or something. I don't know if that would make it a lot better, but that seems to be one that affects persons. And also question number 9, there's some persons about the signature, which I know that's another issue that sometimes people, because they, especially some people change their signature or they don't like the signature anymore. So we always have to remind them that they have to use because it's the online system.
Right.
Yes. So I know that's a question that sometimes people struggle with.
Okay. So if it is that the person wishes to change their signature, then of course they would not be able to use the online platform, because we're processing based on our record that we have in our database. So that is a given. So you're either going to be using the one you had before, or you're going to be submitting a paper application. But we will have a look again at that question 6, because we had changed it and we were hoping that would make it a lot clearer. But we will look back at it and see if we can reword again and make it or put an example so persons will know what to do.
Yeah, and I know my colleague Anne-Marie had said finally, but I think this might finally be the last question, is the issue of married women who have gotten married. Why is it that they're being discriminated against on the online platform?
Oh no, we're not discriminating at all.
They can't do an online application.
Well, as you know, as I said, we are constantly looking at how we can improve this service, as we have rolled out just a little over a year ago, and we do not allow for persons who are making changes to their passport, because it would mean that we need to now get additional documents to validate the information you're now presenting. Because if it is that since your last passport you've been married, then we wouldn't have had that information on record. And the processing of this application is predicated on the previous information in our system. So persons who have been married since would be required to then submit a marriage certificate to show proof of the marriage. And so we're not wishing to discriminate, but at this time, the platform does not allow for persons who are changing the biographical data. So your name, if your name has changed or if your status has changed, then it will not allow for those persons. But certainly it's something that we'll be looking at further down to see how we can facilitate changes to the passport on the online platform.
Sorry, I'm getting a question from some just coming in about clarification about birth certificate and citizenship without a passport. Can that be done?
I'm not quite clear with the question.
Using the parents' birth certificate without passport to complete a citizenship application.
I think someone had asked the question before.
My colleague was saying it probably wasn't, your response might not be clear, have been.
Okay, so if a person is applying for...
Sorry, I think what it is that sometimes there is no surname on the parents' birth certificate.
So they're now trying to validate the person's name.
So the father or the mother wouldn't have a surname or the father's name on the birth certificate. Can that birth certificate be used without the passport for the citizenship application?
Well, in order for the application to be complete, the person would need to provide the full name of the person they're applying through. So if it is say the father's name and there's no surname on the birth certificate, we're not able to validate who that person is. So there would have to be some other document substantiating the identity of that parent. So it certainly would not be the birth certificate alone. They would be required to submit other documents to validate that identity.
Okay, and just one that has come into us at the office a number of times. There are persons who have been issued with a Jamaican passport, although they were born outside of Jamaica, their parents, but on the basis of their parents being Jamaican. Why is it now that we're insisting that they have to do the Jamaican citizenship?
All right, I do understand that question. And one of the things I normally say is that we have to recognize that change takes place, and the world has changed a lot since those days when persons were allowed to get a passport. They were able to just present the documents, and there was no process of registering these persons as citizens of Jamaica. So here it is that you are walking with a passport in hand. However, there's no document, no source document to say I am registered as a citizen of Jamaica. And there is no country in the world where you go and you don't have something. So you either have a birth certificate or a certificate of naturalization, something to say I am a citizen of this country. So that was recognized, I think in 2001, when we came together, citizenship and passport and immigration. And as a part of us regularizing the whole system, putting things in place to make sure we're validating each person who says they're a citizen of Jamaica. So if you're not born in Jamaica, there has to be a process by which you show that you have acquired citizenship. So it is a very, very simple process for descendants. So if it is that your parents or foreparents are Jamaicans, the process is very easy. You get your citizenship within a matter of days. In a month, you have your citizenship. So once you're able to provide that information, then we have it in a repository to say, I am a registered citizen of Jamaica, and I am now able to hold another passport, right? So we have made the process very simple for persons who have held passports before. And as a matter of fact, this is something, it is not new. It is now 21 years since that process, 20 years since that process was implemented. So that has been quite some time for persons to catch up and get their documents in order.
Oh, okay, we're still getting quite a number of questions coming in, and one has asked, why is it that Jamaica does not do any security checks on persons over the age of 18 applying for Jamaican citizenship by descent when we do ask for security check for citizenship by marriage?
I think that is based on, I'm feeling a lot of questions on citizenship today. I think that is based on the law, what the Constitution says about persons who are descendants. So it gives you a claim to citizenship by descent. And so it is a much easier process than applying by marriage. So all you're required to do is to show proof of who you are. So you will be required to show proof of your identity and show proof of the lineage. So if it's your parents or grandparents, we need all the documents showing your foreparents' names, and we're able to connect you to those foreparents, then we're able to process the citizenship. I hope that is sufficient.
And another question, can I do my application in Jamaica and collect it and have it sent to the UK for collection?
That is if they come into one of our offices and then
Yes,
ask.
coming into one of your offices.
Okay, so we are currently partnering with DHL, or persons are also free to, make an arrangement for another courier service, but we do allow for DHL to deliver to persons overseas. So say you're in Jamaica and you wish to come into our office to apply, you can then make the arrangement for it to be sent directly to you. So you can speak to our customer service persons and say, I will not be here to collect. Although we have, several service options for persons who are in Jamaica. So if you are here, we offer a same-day service. So, you can come in early in the morning, have your application done, and collect the passport on the same day. However, if it's that you are leaving before you're able to collect, yes, you can make arrangements to have it delivered to you, but you have to indicate at that time. I mean, it can be done in the back, but we do prefer that you put that plan in place before so that we can facilitate and it is, sent to your address overseas.
Okay, and someone wanted a clarification. I think they said when Mr. Winter in his address, he mentioned that going back to citizenship a little bit, that there are plans in place so persons can do the citizenship application online.
Yes. Yes, he had indicated.
Do you know how long that would take? How long before that's in place?
I'm checking if CEO is online and if he wants to field that question. All right, I'm not hearing him. He wants to answer. He will answer that question.
All right, thank you. Based on the progress that we're making, we're hoping that by the end of this financial year, that system will go live. We had
I think we lost them for a little.
Yes, it seems that way. But it's the end of financial year, not the end of the calendar year. For those who are watching and listening, it's the end of financial year, Mr. Winter said, which would be April 2022, and not the end of the calendar year. So it wouldn't be for this year. And a final question, just someone wanted to double check the timeline for the online, in terms of when you do an online application, how quickly you can get back your passport.
Okay, so the turnaround time for our overseas applicants is 20 working days, and that has been our promise. Once your application is compliant and there are no difficulties with your application, we don't have to ask you for subsequent documents. Once you've answered your questions correctly, your photographs are compliant, then yes, we are going to be processing your application within 20 working days and it will be sent to you. So you'll receive it within that time.
Okay.
Let me see if we can get back to this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. And first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Andrew Winter, the Chief Executive Officer of PICA, Ms. Stephanie Gordon, Director, Passport Services at PICA, and the entire Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency team for this really useful information session and for taking the time to join us and to provide such really good information. And having it on the High Commission's YouTube channel means that this session will be there for persons who are not able to join us live to be able to see and to watch the program and to gain all this information. I just wanted to say there was a number of persons who had in the chat about the difficulties experienced in getting in touch with both the High Commission and our consulate in Birmingham. Just to say that since the first lockdown in March last year, we have been receiving a much higher than normal calls, emails, and demand for our services. A lot of persons, because of, I don't know, because of the anxiety that the lockdown has caused, have been trying to regularize their status, get their passports in order. Young people and persons of Jamaican heritage have been very anxious in getting their Jamaican documents done. So we're seeing, I would say, at least 3 times normal calls, emails, and requests for our services. In fact, we have been doing a survey and we had almost 5,000 calls coming into the High Commission in the month of January. And as you UK viewers would realize, the UK was in lockdown at that time. So you can imagine the pressure that that causes us in terms of dealing with that volume of calls coming in. And we had close to 4,000 emails coming in. So that is in 1 month. And that's just to our main switchboard and our main email address. That does not look at the calls that goes to individual officers and individual email. So we're seeing so we ask that persons be patient. Remember, a lot of useful information, guidelines can be found on the High Commission's website. There's almost all of the services that we offer at the High Commission, the guidelines and the information as to how to access these services are available on our website. So please make use of it. And the online application system does work, because we have received a lot of feedback from persons who have received their passport in less than the 20 days that Ms. Gordon spoke about. As long as everything is in order, the system works and it works well. It is important that the guidelines and the information that is available on the website, that you review the documents, review the guidelines before you start the online application process. I am told that since we reopened to the public to face-to-face interviews and face-to-face taking in applications in person, we have released more than 700 appointment slots. So, and all of those slots are booked by someone. So when you go on and you don't see a slot, it's not because we're trying to discriminate against you. It's just how busy we are and the demand for our services. So where possible, please use the online service. And if you're not ready for an appointment, please do not book the appointment, because we're also having a number of persons booking appointments and they do not have the necessary documentation to complete their application. So ensure that you have what you need before you book an appointment. I'd like to once again thank Mr. Winter, thank Ms. Gordon and the entire PICA team for taking their time to be with us this evening. And on behalf of the High Commissioner or Deputy High Commissioner and Mrs. Tracy Blackwood, the head of the passport section, to thank you for joining us this evening. And please look out for another of our consular information sessions, which will be coming to you very soon. Thank you and good night.